Hey, hi, hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Danielle. Welcome back, or welcome if you're new. Today I'm going to be talking about the top 10 books that I read in 2022. I read about 60 books this year, and a lot of them were just like 3-star, like middle of the road, 3-star. And I'm also very like picky on what I give 4 and 5 stars to, and I feel like I need to start being a little bit more lenient and at least giving like 4 stars, because there are books out there that I'm like, yeah, this is pretty good, but like there's just 1 or 2 things that could make it a 5, that could make it even better. And I feel like that's where like the 4-star category should go, instead of it being a tiny bit off from a 5-star. So without further ado, let me just get into these. I did not rank them in any way, so all of these are just in my top 10. I really don't have like a number 1 book. I feel like nothing I read this year really and truly like blew me away that I'm like, oh my god, this is like one of the best books of all time. Like I just didn't have a reading year like that. But I also just like, I don't know, I was so in and out of reading this year that I'm okay with it, and I'm allowing myself the grace to not, I just didn't find a new fall in love book. So, alright, that's the preface in this. So let's just get into it. The first book that I gave 5 stars to this year is wow, words are really hard. The Happy Ever After Playlist by Abby Jimenez. I loved this book. Like if there was gonna be a book that was almost an all-time favorite, it would probably be this one right here. This book, I don't know, I just loved it for so many reasons. And it's about this girl, and she is like driving down the road, and this dog jumps into her car, and she just like immediately, the dog like immediately like takes to her, and she like immediately falls in love with this dog, and she tries to get in contact with the owner, and the owner like doesn't get back to her. So she pretty much like set an expiration date where she was like, if the owner doesn't get back to me by like this day, like this dog is mine, like I'm not giving it back. And the owner ended up being in Australia, so he couldn't respond to like her, like he didn't know what was going on until he got back. Like he didn't know that the person who was dog sitting just didn't tell him that the dog was missing. And so when he gets back, he's like, you need to give me my dog, and she's like, no, it's my dog now. And like the romance just kind of goes from there. So it's like kind of enemies to lovers, kinda, but it was pretty much just like they had to like spend time together. And yeah, I just loved this so much. So the next book that I rated 5 stars, this one definitely took me by surprise, because I honestly thought this was gonna be like a 3.5-star book, like all the way. And that is Written in the Stars by Alexandra Bellafleur. And yeah, this one kind of hit me out of left field. And so the reason is that in the beginning, so this pretty much sets it up where these 2 girls are set up on this blind date with each other, and they like go to meet at this restaurant, and one of the girls is late, so the other one's like, you know what, if you can't respect my time, like I'm out of here kind of thing. And at first, like the one main character, I felt was kind of written a little bit too immature, and I'm like, okay, here we go, like it's not gonna, I don't know, I feel like I wasn't gonna connect with the character at all. But as their love story developed, I just loved it. It was so cute. I'm really out of practice. I'm sorry. These videos will get better, I promise you. It's also hard because a lot of the stuff that I read, it kind of like goes in one ear out the other kind of thing, where I'll love a book, but then like the next second I'll forget everything that has happened in it. So the next book that I rated 5 stars is The Tattooist of Auschwitz, and this is by Heather Morris. This is based on a true love story, but it is historical fiction. This book was so heart-wrenching, and just, I don't know, it just broke my heart 5 ways to Sunday. Like, it was so good. So this is about our main character Lale, and he is Slovakian. Yes, so he's a Slovakian Jew, and he gets carted off to Auschwitz, and somehow or another he ends up becoming like he gets roped into, he ends up doing the barcodes like on their arms of all of the people coming into the camp. It's pretty much just his story kind of navigating Auschwitz and really actually navigating it pretty well and kind of making the system work for him a little bit to just kind of like not be extremely miserable. And what's really awesome is that he wasn't just like taking that all for himself. He was definitely, you know, pulling strings where he could, helping everyone as best as he could, like as he could. But obviously it's still heart-wrenching and he's still in a concentration camp. Well, then while he's there, he falls in love with this other prisoner, and like it's just so heartbreaking. And yeah, I loved it. So if you enjoy historical fiction, this one is super short too. Like I flew through this so fast. The audiobook is also incredible, so I'd highly recommend it. So the next two books I'm going to mention together because they're by the same author, and of course I read them in the same year because this author has become an auto buy for me now because I've read all three of her books and I've loved all of them. So yeah, her other book would be in this if I read it in 2022, and that is Emily Henry. So I read People We Meet on Vacation and Book Lovers, and what's so funny to me is that I found out that if a person loves Beach Read and Book Lovers, they didn't like People We Meet on Vacation, and people who liked People We Meet on Vacation, hi Jenny, if they liked this, they hated this. I loved all three. I think that Emily Henry has, hold on, kitty intermission, hi, you got an eye bug, that's embarrassing. Alright, so we're just gonna have to ignore that. I have a cat on my lap. So yeah, so I read both of these this year. What's really funny is, so I read this for a book club, and here, I'll talk about this one first. So I read People We Meet on Vacation for a book club, and everyone in the book club hated it, besides me. I loved it. I love Alex. I'm a huge Alex stan. I think he's just so sweet. And yeah, I mean, I understand where people are coming from on not liking this. I just don't care. Like, I don't know, this whole book, I just love the trials and tribulations they went through. In the end, I was crying, like after the third act breakup, like I was just sobbing. I don't know. I loved this book. So for those, if you're not familiar with People We Meet on Vacation, it's about these two friends who used to go on an annual vacation every year, and at one point something happened, so they stopped doing it, and finally, like a few years later, Poppy, our main character, she convinces Alex to go on one last trip together, and pretty much everything that could go wrong goes wrong, of course, and they're just like spending a bunch of time together, and yeah, and then they realize in the end that they really do love each other. So I don't know, I loved this. So on the flip side of that, Book Lovers, which I also loved. Sorry if the angle has changed. I'm sitting back and I have my feet out because my back all of a sudden is killing me. So anyway, Book Lovers, we follow our two main characters, Charlie and Nora, and they are both in the book industry. Nora, from what I remember, is part of like publishing, and Charlie is an editor. And they meet at the beginning of the book to work on this new project, and it does not go well. They just like do not click at all, and he like rejects the book idea that she submitted to him. And the book's main setting is this really small town. So fast forward, Nora ends up in this small town with her sister because they're spending like a month together. Just kind of like getting back to their roots of like being sisters and spending time together and stuff like that. And who does Nora run into in this small itty bitty town? Charlie. So it's just kind of them. The banter, the witty banter, I was laughing out loud so much while reading this book. It was just so good. So yeah, I love Nora and Charlie. I love their relationship. I love I loved the third act conflict. I feel like it was actually just really natural for their relationship and how that kind of was laid out, and then how they came back together. So yeah, I highly recommend this. I love Emily Henry. Like I said, she's an auto buy for me. She has a new book coming out in April, which I am impatiently anticipating. So this next book is actually a sleeper for me because I bought this for my spouse, because this year my spouse has officially come out as non-binary, and I was trying to find romance books with non-binary main characters because I want my spouse to feel included and see themselves represented in books. So I was like scouring the internet, I was on YouTube, and this book came up, and it is Chef's Kiss by TJ Alexander, and I was like, I'm gonna get it. And what's cool is, like, I know it shouldn't matter because obviously they identify as non-binary, but my spouse really liked that the character was born female and now identifies as non-binary. It just made them feel even more connected to the main character. Anyway, this is about a recipe developer named Simone, and she's working on this at this cooking magazine, and then along comes Ray as the new, like, kitchen manager, essentially. I don't know what the exact, title is. And for whatever reason, like, everything that Ray does, Simone is just, like, hating. And Ray just, like, is all up in Simone's face, like, paying no mind to Simone being like, get away from me, like, all the stuff. And, like, just because Simone doesn't like change, it has nothing to do with, like, Ray being, like, icky or anything like that. So as the story goes on, they are put on projects together and they spend more time together, and obviously they start having feelings for each other. I'm gonna warn people, this is an extremely slow, very, very slow burn. And for me, it was worth it. I honestly could have used, like, an epilogue, or I would love, like, a spin-off, like, or, like, another book just, like, kind of talking about their relationship, because it just seems like they are just such a good fit together. And that's the only reason why I would have loved the slow burn if there was still more at the end that kind of, like, gave us a little bit of more insight into their relationship, because it was kind of like, oh, they got together and then it was fade to black kind of thing. So, but other than that, like, their dynamic, their banter, I loved all of it. So yeah, I did not even expect to read this book. Sorry if you hear my cats running in the background. They're just literally running back and forth from the bedroom to my office. I didn't even expect to read this book, and then when my spouse said that it was really good, I decided to pick it up, and I loved it. Obviously, it was great. So the next two books are the same author again. So one of the things that I want to do in 2023 is definitely read different authors, because I feel like I just read a lot of books of the same author, and I mean, great for me in 2022. But in 2023, we're gonna try and get out of our comfort zone a little bit. So the next book I'm gonna talk about is Colleen Hoover. So Verity, I rated 5 stars. I loved it. The one thing that I would say, the one caveat on this book, I would have loved to have seen trigger warnings for this, because I was extremely triggered by this book in the beginning. So I'm gonna say that there is a trigger warning for miscarriage and attempted fetus murder, but not abortion. Like, I'm not triggered by an abortion, it's your choice. But so yeah, attempted fetus murder is how I would say that. I don't know if you feel like that's a spoiler, I'm sorry, but yeah, that's something that I really felt like I needed to know. So anyway, we follow this main character. Her name is Lowen, and she is an author. So she gets offered this contract for, like, a lot of money to complete the last 3 books of a series from this author who is no longer capable of completing the series, that author being Verity. So to kind of get an idea of where these books were supposed to go, Lowen goes to the house that Verity is living in. So the reason that Verity can't complete the series is because she was in a car accident and was left comatose. So Lowen is at her house with her husband and their child and trying to just go through all of her notes to try and figure out like where this series is going. The plan was for her to be there for like a week, just kind of rifling through all of the notes, and then she was gonna go home, write the books, make the money, you know. We love that for her. But that's just not what happens. I'm not going to say anything else about this because I don't want to kind of get into any sort of spoilers, but things do get a little bit crazy. There's a little bit of a mystery to this. But yeah, I thought it was really good. And for the ones who know, I am a manuscript girly. You can't change my mind. So yeah, but I really, really did love this book. It definitely had me on my toes. At points, it did make me really sick. And I'm glad I did push through the parts in the beginning that kind of like really triggered me, because it ended up being really worth it to read this. But I know for some people it isn't, and please do not push yourself to read something if you're just not comfortable. So just came into my Colleen Hoover era this year. I was always a person where I'm like, I don't like Colleen Hoover, but I really had like no leg to stand on that, because I had only read like one of her books and it was like a good book. Like I liked it. I think I rated it like 4 stars, but I was still like, Colleen Hoover, no, just because I know the internet is so split. So split. And I don't know. I enjoy her books. So I'm just gonna keep reading them. So the last book that I rated 5 stars was It Starts With Us by Colleen Hoover, and I do want an honorable mention of It Ends With Us with Colleen Hoover. So I did read both of these books in 2022. I do not own It Starts With Us. I want to. This isn't even my copy. This is my sister-in-law's copy, which I do have to return to her, but for the sake of this video, here it is. I read It Ends With Us a few months ago, and then I ended up just reading It Starts With Us probably a month ago, and I loved it. I kind of see where people are coming from by not liking this or liking any of Colleen Hoover's books, but I really liked it. I loved the talk of domestic violence and how it's just really hard to get out of situations like that. Our main character, Lily, and she meets this guy, Ryle, which, what the f***? Like, you could pick any name in the world and you pick Ryle? Ugh. So Lily meets Ryle and they start dating, and then their relationship kind of like goes south, and it's just about her and Ryle's relationship. And in between that, getting the perspective of Lily when she was 16 and when she met Atlas and her kind of love story with him. And yeah, I thought it was all really great. And so yeah, that's what this is. And so pretty much It Starts With Us is the continuation of it. It literally it picks up almost exactly where It Ends With Us ends off. And I know some people are gonna say that this book is fan service. I don't even care. I loved it, and I really felt like it was what us as readers deserved after what we went through in It Ends With Us. And yeah, so it's pretty much just Lily's story continued at the end of It Ends With Us. I'm not gonna say anything because it'll literally spoil everything, but I don't know. I cried in this book at multiple points just because I was so happy that the characters in this book were getting what they deserved. And yeah, I don't know. I just loved it. So yeah, that was my top 10 books of 2022. Let me know down below what your favorite books of this year were, because I'm always looking to add new things to my TBR. Not that, I mean, I have so many that I still need to read, but you know, we'll do it anyway, because you know, that's what us readers do. So yeah, sorry, I still don't know how to like outro this stuff, but thank you so much for watching. Like I said, let me know down below what your favorite books of 2022 were, and I will see you on Wednesday with a new video. I was literally just gonna do my booktube outro. What a throwback. Alright guys, don't forget, you the best, and I will see you on Wednesday with another video. Bye!